one tattoo on my body.
Really?
It's that. So anybody know what that is?
Oh, that's awesome.
Huh?
That's awesome.
You know what it is?
No, like the spot, I mean.
Anybody know this? Extra credit.
Is that?
Is it the swirl with the cross?
Nobody knows what it, that's, I'm gonna start testing y'all. No, it's the Prince symbol. So, yeah.
I can see it, I was gonna say that.
So no, my joy is listening to Prince.
Oh, okay. That's
So that's,
awesome.
yeah,
He was the best musician,
the
by
best.
far, by miles.
Yes, now you're talking my language.
By far, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
He did it all.
Yeah. So yeah, I believe in joy and we believe in building a joyful movement.
Well, that's wonderful.
Okay, but Black joy is not the strategy. You're just joyful at the movement, as you're building a movement, right? And you can be, right? So let's hop into Blood in My Eye. Actually, we need to do our land, labor, and life acknowledgement first. Anybody have their syllabus with them? Sure. Somebody want to switch with her? Anybody not mind being on the screen? No, nobody went, now I feel lonely. Okay. All right, anybody have
I
that?
don't want to be right there.
Everybody have their syllabus out? Who can start us? Remember, we're gonna still ourselves. With both feet on the ground. And we recognize that this country was built on the stolen land of indigenous people by the stolen labor and lives of our African ancestors. And I'm gonna ask everybody to uncross anything that's crossed. Put both hands in your lap palms and take a deep breath in and breathe out. Who can read the first paragraph?
I can read it.
Yes.
This land on which we inhabit is physically situated in the original ancestral homelands of the Tongva, Quiche, Gabrielino, and Chumash people. We pay respect to the Tongva, Quiche, Gabrielino, Chumash, and all indigenous people, past, present, and future, and their continuing presence in the homeland and throughout their historical diaspora.
Thank you. Take another deep breath in and breathe out. Who can read the second paragraph? Can you read it for me?
We pay homage to those who were stolen from Africa, placed in bondage, falsely named as chattel, and forced into labor, who were called slaves but never submitted as such, who have always been fully human with an unbroken connection to the divine and to each other. We honor our African ancestors for their still unpaid labor, which built what is now the Americas.
Thank you. Take another deep breath in and breathe out. And who can read the last line?
To both our indigenous and African forebears, we commit to the continued struggle for liberation and reparations, for it is only through freedom and justice that we truly give honor.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Thank you. So what we're going to talk through today is we're going to kind of close out Blood in My Eye. But I want to talk in terms of where we are in this country. And, you know, I thought we had a really good, I know some of you were out, really good conversation at the demonstration last week. Does anybody want to talk about that or say how they felt or give us a summary? You were nodding, so do you want to?
Yeah, I felt like it was, I felt like it was really inspirational and very educational. Like it really brought to focus like how how messed up this country is with how, like, as I think you said it was like our governor is trying to prop up like our own police as some sort of like good alternative for governing us as opposed to like what was it, ICE and these other people. I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, why our own police aren't even that good? Like why? Like that's supposed to be some sort of like gold standard compared to like ICE coming in here instead. Like it's not as bad, but it's almost the same damn thing. And they're trying to act like it's different. It's like they're trying to, like it's like a fake solution.
Right.
And that's kind of like our political system, because they try and propose all these like good solutions to problems, and on the surface it usually looks fine enough, but in actuality it's not. And then I also really like how you brought up like the curriculum stuff, how that ended up falling through, but they still wanted, I think they still wanted your names attached to it, right? Or like how it ended up just being watered down in the end. Like they always try and like save face at first to make it look good, but in the end it's just capitulation and nothing gets done. And it's just incrementalism, and it's just, hey, we did something, and that's all that it's about.
Right. I've never used the word capitulate until this administration, but that's what we see all over the place. What's your name again?
Elijah.
Elijah. Anybody want to add to what Elijah shared about last week's class? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was like really a nice experience because like all three of you like were together like trying to change like our future for our kids and our schools, because you had to, you're just, well, I don't know if I can see that now, like,
Good.
but because you had to go to like, you had to take a whole bus to go to another school where you were exposed to like African studies for the first time, and I thought that was amazing. I didn't get Chicano study. I didn't even know that was a thing till I got into college.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like just even hearing that from you when you were younger, like that's what you three are trying to do for our schools and our children now, and not have to be, oh, you know, my child has it, hopefully, like it's for now. And like the teachers who are going into teaching now, they want to put the part of themselves just like your teacher did for our students, and you know, plant those seeds too. So I was like, it was nice hearing that was even a thing, but it was kind of sad knowing that like it took me being in this class to even know that they were trying to shut it down and stop it from even getting bigger. So it was like getting my eyes opened more, and then kind of like being like, wow, like it took you this long to realize like they're kind of altering that, but it's also kind of happening at the same time. So it was a nice bittersweet moment. I liked it.
Tell me your name one more time.
Ashley?
Ashley. Anybody want to add to what Ashley said? So the primary reason we were out was to block AB 715, right? So AB 715, and I thought you all did a very good job of framing it, right? AB 715 is this terrible bill that started as an anti-ethnic studies bill, and then is being used by the right to say, well, it's really to protect students against anti-Semitism in the classroom, right? The kinds of people who are doing this, they are the anti-Semites. They could give a damn about anti-Semitism, what they're trying to do. And if you think about it, people like Donald Trump are using claims of anti-Semitism to go after student protesters at UCLA and all the UCs, right? Donald Trump doesn't care about anti-Semitism. He is an anti-Semite. What are you talking about, right? And so they're using this as an opening so that teaching truth in the classroom becomes something that's criminalized. So on Friday, a bunch of us went up to Sacramento to try to block AB 715. And there were hundreds of us, right? There was it might have already happened when we had the Wednesday thing, that there was or maybe it happened Wednesday night, there was a committee hearing where over 500 people lined up, and all but maybe 10 of them were opposed to AB 715. There were a significant number of Jewish folks there, right? And all of my friends who are Jewish, they don't like AB 715, and they're opposed to the war in Gaza, and they're opposed really to Israel and the genocide that they're carrying out. Like they believe that you can't be a justice-loving Jewish person and be okay with slaughtering hundreds of thousands of people, right? And that if anything, when you talk about genocide, Jewish people, it should resonate with Jewish people that we should be opposed to genocide, right? Because they suffered their own genocide, right? So there was a committee hearing where about 500 folks lined up. Very few of them were for AB 715. On Friday, it went before the full legislature on both the Assembly side and the Senate side. Does everybody know how government works when I say Assembly and Senate side? Okay. So you know how Congress works, right? That there's a Congress, we have 3 branches of government. Like 3 branches of government, right? What are the 3 branches of government?
Judicial, executive.
Judicial.
Judicial, legislative, executive, right? What does the executive branch do? Just one word.
Sit on his asses.
What does the executive branch do? What is it supposed to do?
Sign off on things.
No, they're supposed to enforce law. Enforce law. Who passes law?
Legislative.
Legislative branch. And then there's another one, the judicial branch is supposed to what? Interpret law. So legislative makes law, executive enforces law, judicial interprets law, right? Now, we know how that looks at the federal level. The executive is who? Right. The legislative is who?
Senate and House.
Yeah. So Congress, right? And then the judicial is who at the highest level? Supreme Court. Uh-huh. So at the state level and at the local level, there are versions of that. So in California, who would the legislative branch be?
Gavin Newsom, right?
Legislative.
The Ninth Circuit would be
So the legislative branch would be, because remember, at the federal level, who's the legislative branch? Congress. So at the state level,
The assembly.
Huh?
The assembly.
It's the legislature, which, like Congress, is what's called a bicameral legislature, right? So Justin started to say that Congress is made up of
House of Representatives and the Senate.
the House and the Senate. In California, and I know this is not Pan-African studies, but you do have to know your opponent, right? So you have to know how these systems are created so that you can figure out what your pressure points are, okay? So it's also a bicameral legislature at the state level. So your California state legislature is made up out of the state Senate and state assembly. Okay, state Senate, state assembly. In some ways for you, that's even more important than Congress. Most laws exist on the state level, not on the federal level. Okay, so AB 715, the AB is Assembly Bill 715. The California State Assembly, the Zionists, there's 2 Zionists, there's more than that, but 2 Zionist state legislators, state assembly members, named Rick Zabur and somebody Addis, I forgot her first name, right? Who wrote this bill, AB 715. They're heavily funded by, now this is stuff that gets me in trouble. So Congress, most members of Congress are bought and paid for. Do you know the only other, well, there's one exception, but the only non-American flag that's sitting in front of many, many, many congressional offices?
Israeli. Is it APAC?
Because of who?
APAC.
Right. So these members of Congress You supposed to represent Florida, homie.
No
Right.
saying about it.
You supposed to represent California, or you supposed to represent South Carolina. I kid you not. I walk the halls. I'm gonna be there next week. I'm gonna be walking halls. These fools don't even like Jewish people, right? Have you ever heard of a old white South Carolinian talking about how much they love Jewish people? No. But in addition to the American flag, they got the damn
It's really
Israeli flag. You're supposed to not be working for Israel. You're supposed to not only be representing American people, you're specifically supposed to be representing South Carolinians or Floridians or, but they got the Israeli flag sitting out.
Did you see that bullshit where like 250 US legislators just flew to Israel for that whole 50 states one Israel BS?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Look, where you started going, Justin, though, is why do they have Israeli flags and why are they caping for Israel? Why did the Israeli flag become the first flag, the only flag in the country that it's a felony to burn?
Israel's a false state built upon westward influence.
Okay, but who made it so that the U.S. and these U.S. politicians are propping up Israel? You said the name of
AIPAC.
say it.
AIPAC.
AIPAC. What is AIPAC?
American Israeli.
Political Action Committee.
Thank you.
American Israeli Political Action Committee. Remember I said what I say in here? I don't need you to just believe me. You shouldn't have blind trust in anybody. I want you to go back and look up what is AIPAC, AIPAC, okay? AIPAC has bought and paid for almost every single member of Congress. We used to have this wonderful member of Congress. I don't really talk well of most politicians, but I love Cori Bush. I love Cori Bush. She represented St. Louis. She is from St. Louis. She was part of the Ferguson uprisings. We used to say, people used to say, Cori represents the people. No, Cori is the fucking people. Cori comes out of protest. She's a single mama. She's a healthcare provider, frontline healthcare worker. She was homeless for a while. Cori was phenomenal. She was phenomenal. She got what they call primary. AIPAC spent, I believe it was $15 million. I'm not saying that was absolutely the number, but I think it was $15 million to run somebody named what is his name? Wesley Bell, I believe. Is it Wes Bell? Against her, a so-called black man, right? Pushed him out, put $15 million behind him so that he could defeat her in the primary because the district she was running in is a Democratic district, so they can't defeat her in the general. He did the same thing to a brother named Jamal Bowman, who was out of Brooklyn. They ran the most AIPAC bought legislator, a black Puerto Rican, right? What's that fool's name? Richie Torres. They had him run against Jamal Bowman and put tens of millions of dollars behind him, okay? So AIPAC has bought all of these legislators, our so-called black minority, I guess he's a minority leader now, right? Hakeem Jeffries. That's why, anybody listen to the Breakfast Club? You do? Do you know what they call him on there?
No.
They call him, his name is Hakeem Jeffries. They call him AIPAC Shakur, right? Because he's bought and paid for by AIPAC.
Yeah.
So at the federal level, and I want you all to look this up, you can, there's a website, Track AIPAC, and you can look up and see how much each of these Congress members have taken from AIPAC. Remember, we think we live in a country where there's free and fair elections. They are not free or fair, okay? And I know this because I also didn't say this in my introduction. You all know I ran for Vice President of the United States.
Yeah, I think you brought
Okay.
that up.
Okay. Yeah, so Cornel West ran for President of the United States. I was his vice presidential running mate, which was one of the greatest honors of my life. We ran in 2024. And we know this because there were tens of millions of dollars put not only to run people, I mean, we were running against a Republican and a Democratic Party that spent hundreds of millions on the election, right? We didn't have any, we had 0 millions of dollars, right? But they spent tens of millions of dollars to keep us off of ballots, right? So we would do what needed to be done. In many states, it's hard to even get on ballots, right? But to get on a ballot, like we made the ballot in Georgia, our names were printed on the ballot. They hired all these real fancy lawyers to keep disputing it to the point that our names were printed on the ballots, but they went around to every polling place and put signs up and said, if you vote for Cornel West and Melina Abdullah, your vote won't count.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. So I'm saying all that to say that elections are not free, right? Elections, they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on elections. Some of you saw the amounts of money that were spent on this last presidential election.
You know what bothers me about that? People like me, you, or anyone in this classroom, if we were to spend $3,001 in donations, $3,001 in donations to any presidential candidate, people are going to be banging on our doors and arresting us for influencing an election. Our limit is $3,000, but these lobbyists and politicians can get away with millions of dollars.
Yeah, well, these are something called independent expenditures, right? So if you do these things without officially donating to the campaign, you can spend unlimited amounts.
Really?
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear more about that.
Yeah, so, but we also know that there are direct, they call it maxing out, donations to candidates. So they max out to these candidates. AIPAC always maxes out to the candidates. But in like Corey's case or Jamal's case, they also spend tens of millions of dollars to unseat them. So I'm saying all that to say that's what happens at the federal level. At the state level, there's an organization called JPAC, right? Which I didn't know this until very recently, which does the same thing with state legislators. AIPAC doesn't give in California to state legislators, but they do have individual gifts that they organize, and then there are other places that organize. So what they did is put all this money behind these legislators that are now too afraid to say no to a racist anti-union bill like AB 715. So this is a long story long that on Friday, AB 715 passed the legislature, both houses, with no votes. We are lifting up, there were a few what we call abstentions where they stayed off. That was as much courage as they could offer, is to stay off, and only about a dozen legislators stayed off it, despite the fact that every labor union said no on 715 because it was an anti-labor bill. Anybody a unionized worker in here?
Who was?
You were? Okay. Gary is. You know what the power of labor unions is, right? Mm-hmm. That when you negotiate your salary, you could say, Ashley, where do you work?
I worked at Rite Aid.
At Rite Aid, okay.
Thursdays, I guess.
Okay, so what were you, the food and, yeah.
Yeah, food, yeah.
Uh-huh. So you could say, I want a raise. And they would say, fuck you, Ashley, we don't hire the woman next to you, right? But United Food and Commercial Workers, right? That's what you were. But if your union comes in and says, no, everybody is negotiated, everybody gets $22 an hour. They can't lay off everybody, right? Because you're united union, you're united as a fist, right? So you don't get to threaten them, I'm gonna walk off, and they say they're gonna hire the woman standing behind you, okay? So that's what unions are. Unions also charge their members dues, okay? So when we talk about the power of money, we don't have no whole lot of money. We don't have no AIPAC money, but we got a little money, right? We have enough money so that we can show up and feed people sandwiches. If you're there in Sacramento all day, you're not gonna be hungry, right? That we're gonna feed you, we're gonna have some bottled water. If we gotta go down and protest at the Board of Trustees, we can pay for a bus, right? We have these kinds of things to offer, right? Every single labor union is against AB 715, but we could not overcome the influence of the Israeli lobby.
Can we recall the legislators?
You can, but more effective than that, just like as we know, a bill becomes a law because who makes the law? Which branch? But what has to happen after they make the law, after they write the law, for it to actually become law? What has to happen? The executive has to sign it. Guess what hasn't happened yet? The executive, who's the executive at the state level?
Magic Newsom.
Huh?
Magic Newsom.
Magic Newsom. Gavin Newsom is the executive at the state level. Gavin Newsom also wants to be president of the United States. Don't think he's just coming after Trump because he got all of a sudden, grew a bigger pair of balls, right? He wants to be president of the United States. I always say that one of the people I hate most is the former executive of the city of Los Angeles, Mayor Garcetti. I think Garcetti probably is the only person who can't stand Gavin Newsom more than me, right? Because Eric Garcetti thought he was going to be the great white hope, right? Eric Garcetti thought he was going to run for president, and here comes Gavin Newsom. They both come from elitist families, right? Here comes Gavin Newsom with better hair than Eric Garcetti and more attractive. Gavin Newsom's an attractive guy, right? And so, and I love how he's trolling Trump, even though I don't agree with most of Gavin Newsom's politics.
It's awesome.
Yeah, the trolling of Trump is hilarious, and I actually agree with a few of the policies.
He learned it from Trump, though. He learned to troll from Trump.
And he's out trolling him,
No, it's great.
right? He's out trolling Trump.
Every day he posts something new. It's always funny.
So Gavin Newsom wants to be president. So what does he need? Elections are not free, nor are they fair. So he needs the support of unions. Is this a majority white state, California? No.
Not anymore.
No, it's a majority minority state. He needs the votes of people of color. So we can lobby Gavin Newsom, and nobody ever wins the presidency without winning their home state, right? So we can push Gavin Newsom to veto 715. So if you're willing, so this is a long way of me introducing you to a thing you can do right now. Go to tinyurl.com/veto715. tinyurl.com/veto715. That's it. And you can sign that petition to veto AB 715. That petition was generated by not just a labor union, but we're also in partnership with other community-based organizations. So that one actually comes from the organization that AIPAC hates the most, the Council of American Islamic Relations, right? So because they know that AB 715 is a particular attack on Muslims. So that's something that you can do. I did want to go over, and we only have about 13 minutes left in class. I want to go over some key things from Blood in My Eye and then give you another community event that you can engage in, okay? So Blood in My Eye, I'm just pulling out a few things and invite you to also think about what was important to you. And then next week, Gary's going to walk us into the book that we should have already started, Killing Rage by Bell Hooks. Gary's going to walk us into that book, and then I'll pick up on intersectionalism and how Black women fight for freedom, okay? So we'll start with Blood in My Eye, and we'll start with one. I want to uplift something that I said. If you read Blood in My Eye, there might be some things that make you uncomfortable. I'm not going to say everything on the live stream, but I will say this. I'm not uncomfortable. I've learned to not be uncomfortable with almost anything in this book. 2 years ago, I might have been more uncomfortable. But there are some things that I think that the current state of affairs awakens us to, right? One of the things that we understand is that as people who are oppressed, there is nothing more dangerous than pretending to live at peace when war has been declared on us. War has been declared on us. And you can fight me if you want to, but war has been declared on us. If you are a Black person, you know war has been declared on you. Do you know that? Okay. If you are a brown person, if you even look, I'm not even gonna ask you how many of you are migrants. If you look like a migrant, war has been declared on you. Do you know what the latest Supreme Court ruling was? What was it, Sherry?
They can now legally racial profile you, so even if you just speak Spanish or you look like you're a day laborer, they can ICE can stop you.
And what does that mean that you look like a day? What does it mean to look like a day laborer? What does it mean to look like a migrant? Right?
You're not white.
Right. Justin's probably the only one in this class that they're not gonna think is a migrant. And you could actually be from somewhere. You know, it's hella Canadians that overstay their visas. Hell of them. I think it's the second
Actually,
largest.
globally, white people are the biggest undocumented people globally. And actually, Mexico has rampant white immigrants there because they
I
want to leave from US taxes.
Mm, mm. So war has been declared on you. If you are a woman, war has been declared on you. Not only, no matter what you're, some of you might say, well, I'm against abortion anyway. Some of these fools, I'm not against abortion. I believe that's your own decision, right? But some of these fools aren't just going after abortions. You know what they're going after?
I think what after the clinics then.
Yeah, what else do they do in those clinics?
They-
They're going after birth control. They're going after birth control. What the fuck? They're going after birth control. I actually think that people who have sex with men should say, okay, they're going after birth control. You going after birth control? No sex. Can't have sex. Bet you they would backpedal on that real quick, right?
I've been saying since 2021 that women need to boycott sex.
No, for real, as a political move.
Yeah.
Boycott that shit, right? But they have declared war on you. If you are queer or trans, they have declared war on you. If you are poor, do you know that not my president, but maybe yours has said that it is a crime now to be unhoused? It is a crime. It's a crime against this country that they would let people live unhoused, right? So they have declared war on you. So there is nothing more dangerous than pretending to live at peace when war has been declared on us. So some of what's written in blood in my eye might make you uncomfortable, but I think it's an awakening to the fact that, what does George Jackson say? Fascism is already here. Fascism is already here. So you need to know how to define fascism. Go ahead, sis.
Oh, I wasn't gonna say, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
What is fascism?
It's a dictator, it's a oppression of others' opinions. It's control of the dissemination of information.
Fascism is essentially, in political science, we call it right-wing authoritarianism. That's the very quick and dirty way to define fascism. Did you want to say something now, or I'm imagining?
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say that a lot of it has to do with I've been noticing it a lot more. A lot of it has to do with distraction. That's something that I've noticed, especially with everything that's going on in the news with the person who was shot about a week ago at
The
this
sun was
point.
shining brighter that day.
Yeah, somebody I really admire, Stephen Colbert, did a thing where he was basically mourning the death of this person, which is, his prerogative to do on network television, and also probably an attempt to save his show because the show's about to get cut.
Jimmy Kimmel's just good.
Right.
Jim said bad ratings too before he got cut. That's what-
I don't think that's why, that's not why they cut the show.
Every day a Nazi's dead is a better day for me, so.
Well, I'm Christian, so Charlie Kirk was a brother in Christ to me. I didn't stand for everything he stood for, but as a Christian, I thought he was my brother in Christ. I didn't think he was
So
Nazi.
nobody's disputing whether or not somebody can be somebody's,
Brother in Christ.
right?
Right.
Everybody, I guess, would be, right? But what I'm what I'm lifting up, and I think is fascism, right? What we're lifting up is how you define fascism, right? And I think that what they were talking about is fascism, and I think how it started, this conversation started, and I'm being careful. How this conversation started is you mentioned distractions.
Yes, I wasn't saying that praying for him is a distraction. I too am a Christian, and I am.
I'm not praying for him.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, no.
And I'm saying
But
this,
I-
I'm not dancing either, because here's what I put online.
Yeah.
I'm saying all kinds of shit I never said before. Capitulate, never used that word before. Hell in a handbasket, never used that term before.
Yeah.
Here's a term I've used a lot over the last week. I could give a rat's ass. I could give a rat's ass, right? Not dancing, not mourning, but go ahead.
But the point that I was getting is drawing our attention to that and then immediately shifting to like, here are some foibles Donald Trump said this week. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just this idea that like, how do I put it? You pull us in emotionally and then you try to like distract us from the fact that like this really big thing that is like kind of painful, I think, on all sides for like what's come out from what he said, but also like what people have said in response. And then you distract us and like bring us back to this like, does that make sense?
Yeah, here's what I want to get to, because we only have about 5 minutes left. Here's what I want to get to with that, and we're not going to dwell too much on that situation, right? Is that there's also a lot of gaslighting happening. A lot of gaslighting. Where's your empathy? Well, that motherfucker said he doesn't believe in empathy, right? Well, he was speaking and using free speech, then my free speech should be protected. And he actually used his free speech to block my free speech. Anybody know, if anybody should be dancing, it's people like me who were put on his terrible website, Professor Watch List, which was meant to incite violence against us, right? So we should understand that. Incredible gaslighting, right? And that can't be all we talk about, right? We have to remember also, here's another gaslighting effect, mass gaslighting, that the day that it happened, every single HBCU in this country had to go on lockdown because there were death threats and bomb threats to HBCUs. Last I checked, that was white on white crime. Why the fuck are you targeting HBCUs and Black kids? Black people didn't have anything to do with it. Why are you targeting HBCUs? And it was white supremacists who were targeting these HBCUs, right? So we need to understand that we can't be distracted and we can't fall for their narrative. Just Monday, a Black college student was lynched at the center of campus at Delta State University. His name is Trey Reed. You should look that up, right?
What happened with that? You hear there was not a lot of news about it. What
There's
happened?
still not a lot of news about it because they're so busy talking about, tell me your name.
Incuria.
Incuria is talking about, right? They're distracting us with other bullcrap, right? They have not talked about Trey Reed, but we should talk about Trey Reed. We should also know that every time someone Black is killed by the state or white supremacy, they never talk about it. Trayvon Martin, you heard about it because the Dream Defenders made you hear about it, right? When you talk about Mike Brown, you heard about it because the community started burning shit down and made you hear about it. Trey Reed, we have to make them talk about Trey Reed, right? So fascism, we should talk about fascism. We should know what fascism is. Colonialism, we also talk about it every day in this class. When we say this country is built on the stolen land of indigenous people by the stolen labor and lives of our African ancestors, right? When we say that, we're recognizing that this land does not belong to the colonizer. What is colonialism? In 60 seconds, somebody. What is colonialism? Give us a short answer. Say that word. Conquering. Colonialism is when a foreign group comes in and conquers a physical space and uses it for the purpose of their enrichment, okay? So that's what happened here. And there's many, many different pieces to colonialism, including forcing the colonized to adopt your cultural practices and abandon their own, right? Those things are all functions of colonialism. Remember, George Jackson calls Black people in this country a Black what? Black what? Black colony, that we are colonized people. And so we should connect with colonized people all around the world. And then lastly, what we'll say with 1 minute that we have left is he talks about revolution. What does revolution look like? And this is the part that some of you might feel uncomfortable with. But if you study revolution, revolution means using every single tool in your toolbox, from ethnic studies to spirituality, which he doesn't explore very much, to the way that you use language, to building what he talks about as Black autonomy, right? So do you think everybody in this country, everybody in this world has a right to food? Yes. Do you think everybody has a right to housing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think everybody has a right to health care?
Yes.
Do you think families have a right to be together?
Yes.
So if you believe in all of those things, then we make the demands of the colonizer that's provided. But in the time between that, when we're making the demands and when we actually make the revolution so that happens, we have to have something that they call, and you should write this down, survival pending revolution. Survival pending revolution. That means that we make as much of that happen in our own communities, in our own neighborhood, through what he calls Black autonomy as possible. So if you come to a Black Lives Matter meeting, you will be greeted with what, Gary? When they walk in the door, what do they get?
Produce.
No, what's the first thing they get?
First.
Dinner. You walk in, I'll go anywhere for a free meal, right? So if you had come on Sunday night, you would have got a catered meal from Doolin's, mac and cheese, collard greens, fried fish, cornbread. You would have gotten that. Did we ask you to pay for it? No, right? You get dinner because we should all eat dinner. But when you leave with what?
Produce bags.
Produce. A fresh bag of produce. Go home, you got zucchini in there, you got bananas in there, you got mangoes, you got avocados. I can't afford avocados anymore, but they in the produce bag. I'm eating the hell of avocados right now. Because we believe everybody has a right to healthy, fresh food, right? So that's part of revolution, is making the world that you want to live in, even as you're making the demand and making colonialism and white supremacist capitalism fall. Does that all make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I got for you today. Next Wednesday, we're in class. Gary's giving a lecture.